welcome in. This is The Herd, wherever you may be and however you may be making this part of your day. Thanks so much. I'm Doug Gottlieb, in for Colin Cowherd. You can hear us on the iHeartRadio app, on Fox Sports Radio, and watch us on Fox Sports 1. Joy Taylor alongside, as always. And, Joy, this is about your hometown team.
Here we go.
The Pittsburgh Steelers, who I do think, look, I'll admit it, you know more about that place than I do. Okay? You know more, and I think people in Pittsburgh have tried to tell those of us outside of Pittsburgh, like, hey, this thing's kind of been brewing for a while. But those of us outside are like, okay, so let me get this straight. Mike Tomlin's won a Super Bowl. He's a pretty good coach. I know they lost Ryan Shazier, and I sat on Colin's couch. This is a year and a half ago and said, I thought their Super Bowl went out the window when he suffered that devastating injury. I thought it really changed their defense and changed kind of the culture of the place. He's a great leader, great player. He was everything you want in a middle linebacker for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He gets hurt. It was devastating. But you still thought, like, well, the Patriots aren't that good. You look around and you're like, yeah, the Colts aren't that good. The Ravens, I mean, they got to the playoffs, but Lamar Jackson can't really throw, and they spent the first half of the year trying to figure out, do we want Flacco? Do we want Flacco? Defense was outstanding, but their offense was nothing to be scared of. Yeah, the Kansas City Chiefs were unbelievable offensively, but no defense. And the Chargers, you don't have a ton of respect if you're the Steelers, who constantly make the playoffs and you think challenge. And you start to say to yourself, like, we didn't make the playoffs this year? And we had Antonio Brown. And, oh, yeah, by the way, the year before, we couldn't beat the Jacksonville Jaguars at home. And we had Le'Veon Bell and Ben Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown. Like, look, you can tell me there are other trios that are as good, and I may buy it. There are not trios that are better than those three. They're just not. Antonio Brown is a top 5 wide receiver. Ask anybody in the NFL. Le'Veon Bell, when he was healthy, you're going back, and when he was engaged, and this is a year and a half ago, was as good as any running back in the NFL. And though Ben Roethlisberger is not as good as he used to be, like, look, Ben Roethlisberger still Super Bowl quarterback, big body, can make the throws, can extend the play. Like, that trio is as good, and yet they came up short, and then the thing imploded this year. And you're trying to figure out why. Why would Antonio Brown go on these almost bipolar rants and posts? In the same day, 2 days ago, he posts an IG Live from a treadmill where he's got a dyed mustache, and he's talking about it being about the money. Hey, if you got guaranteed money, hit me up. But he almost felt unhinged, to take a word from people talking about a different topic. Right? There are just things, he's calling out Ben, he's liking things on Instagram and pointing out Ben Roethlisberger's illicit past. And you're like, man. Then he's meeting with the owner, and you're like, wait a second, that's classy. That's the way you should handle it. Why is this such a mess? I think we have our answer. Kevin Colbert is the general manager of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And he said a lot of things like this one. Ben is an unquestioned leader of this group. Unquestioned leader. All right. He's taking is it conch or conch? You know what I'm talking? You guys ever read Lord of the Flies? Remember whoever? It's the conch, right? I think it's spelled conch, but it might be a conch. I'm not really sure. It's like from Lord of the Flies, it was signified who had the power of the group of boys. So he basically takes the conch or conch. You can hit me up on Twitter at Gottlieb Show and correct my pronunciation if it's incorrect, and hand it to Ben Roethlisberger and said, here, he's the Lord of the Flies. Okay. Like I said, he's the elder statesman, Super Bowl winner. I can't question that. If our players were smart, they'd listen to him. It's a little much. He's got 52 kids under him. Wait, what? I think that once you win it, you've got 53 guys you can say what it took. Right now, he's the only one. He can call me out, and that's fine. Wait, did he just call the other 52 guys on the active roster kids? He did. Listen, I would advise you not to call your wife or your girlfriend honey or babe. These are things that don't...
Well, unless you really mean it.
Yeah. I mean, listen, you can, in passing, like, hey, babe, can you pass me the salt? Like, okay. hey, babe, like that, excuse me. There are things in which you say where you lack kind of a self-awareness. And between Le'Veon Bell not understanding the market for running backs, Antonio Brown not having the self-awareness to realize, like, hey, you do realize that if you want a new contract, showing up for Week 17 against the Bengals would probably help you get a new contract, even if you force a trade to another team. And Ben Roethlisberger and some of the things that he has said lack self-awareness. And look, I'll defend Ben Roethlisberger on his radio show because we do take some of his opinion and we only cut it up into the things we think of as negative. For example, when he called out Antonio Brown for running the wrong route, he did say, like, look, and I should have thrown it to Juju. You go back early in the year, and there were quotes where Ben Roethlisberger said, I need to play better. I need to get more engaged with these guys during the week. Like, he's willing to be self-deprecating and self-critical, which is great. And I don't even have a problem with Kevin Colbert saying he's the leader because he's won a Super Bowl and because he's our quarterback. But when you call 52 other grown-ass men, prideful men, kids, especially considering, look, I think Ben Roethlisberger's story is mostly good. He was a knucklehead and an idiot earlier in his career. And I'm willing to believe that, like most of us as guys, you grow up, you mature, you have a kid, you have a wife, and you're not that guy anymore. And we're still guys. We every guy lives differently in terms of the proximity or how closely they are to pressing that self-destruct button, right? And his self-destruct button seems a little bit closer than some people's. But you got Kevin Colbert, clearly lacks self-awareness. Your job is to be the spokesperson. Your job is to say the right things. And when you say, hey, he's got 52 kids under him, to say that misses the mark, instead of putting out the fire, he stoked it. Did he not, Joy? Am I missing something?
This has been my issue with the Steelers all season long, is, to me, the Steelers have this reputation of toughness and grit and blue collar.
The standard is the standard.
Yeah, the standard is championships, and it's all about winning. And up until this year, had the most Lombardis of any team in the league, and they're a cornerstone franchise. And it's like, on the other hand, it's just all chaos and social media and big personalities and all this stuff going on. It doesn't match the original brand. And I think that's kind of what everyone's hanging on to, is like the Steelers aren't the same Steelers that they used to be. It's not about the steel curtain and Troy Polamalu and the bus. And it's all an offensive team now. And Ryan Shazier was a big part of that. But to me, the culture breakdown with the Steelers came from the top. And clearly him calling everyone else on the roster except Ben Roethlisberger a kid, that trickles down. It runs downhill. Obviously Antonio Brown could have handled this differently, given. Ben could have handled this differently. Le'Veon Bell could have handled this differently. But to me, the fact that they feel the comfort to handle anything the way that they're handling it comes from Tomlin and comes from the front office.
How about the fact that Kevin Colbert didn't say Mike Tomlin is the adult and everybody else?
Well,
I don't like the idea of calling somebody kids just because it's like
it's demeaning, it's disrespectful.
Right? Don't call somebody call somebody a boy. No. Right? Don't call somebody a kid.
And it's just because Ben has 2 rings is what he's saying. Like he's the leader. He has 2 rings. He should be the one who if anyone's going to chastise anyone, it should be him.
Right. But if you say it that way, it comes across better than if you say, you got 52 kids, right, and one adult. Like, you call somebody, like, that's just going to stoke the flames. And I think this is it's a good look under the hood to those of us like, man, I get it. You got a pain in the ass wide receiver. Lots of teams do. I get it. You got a running back that wants to be paid more. Lots of teams do. You got a quarterback who's probably not as good as some of the results, right? Like, the first Super Bowl, you want to get down to it, his lowest quarterback rating for any Super Bowl winning. But whatever. Ben Roethlisberger is a good quarterback. Is he the greatest of all time? Should he actually be a Hall of Famer? We could have that debate on one of the debate shows, and it'd be an interesting one.
Well, I think he is a Hall of Famer, and I think he should be the leader of the team. But to me, And if I look at any organization and the success or failure of an organization, I don't look at the worst player on the team. I go straight to the top. What has the ownership done to make it a winning franchise and a winning organization and a winning atmosphere? What does the head coach do to create a culture where everyone feels supported and like their role is important, even if they are the lowest guy on the roster?
Right.
To me, there's just the fact that there was a report that Mike Tomlin said that Antonio Brown can do whatever he wants until he's not productive. Huh?
It's not that you feel that. It's that you say that, and that you feel that it's a problem as well. I mean, like, look, this is the reason that, and I think that Tomlin he's not going to get a pass, but this is a chance for him to hit the reset button. I think it's just going to be really hard. Look, if you read the entirety of the quote from Kevin Colbert, he said, once you've won it, you got 53 guys. You can say what it took. I totally respect, because what I've seen too many times win games for us and come through in the situation. Talked about the Jacksonville game. He brought the team in. It was hot. It was nasty. They weren't allowed to get water. It was immediate. Everybody over here right now, in the speech he made, the challenge he made, he backed it up because he played better in the second half. He didn't play well in the first half, and he said, "quote I'm the first one that needs to look in the mirror, and the rest of you better too." So I absolutely have no problem with him. I do think that Ben Roethlisberger, again, if it's sold the right way, should be the unquestioned leader. And Ben Roethlisberger's own issues. Remember, he wasn't just women and Lake Tahoe. It was also the motorcycle and then getting suspended. And this was a different life ago. But I do think there can be a relationship.